So, welcome back to a bit gamey. What is it now? This one, Mars World War II. Mars stands for messing about with rules and scenarios. So, my original plan was medieval. Well, not original plan, but the eventual plan after lots of dead ends was medieval conquest of Sicily, War of Spanish Succession, and some World War II. And the original plan for World War II was a company scale or battalion scale adventures through the various stages of the war. We were a kind of 1 in 3 or 1 to 3 or 1 to 5 ratio, and I was going to take an infantry division through various stages of the war. We're starting off as an infantry division, and then getting promoted up to Panzer Grenadiers, just to get like one of each of all the kind of cool little vehicles that I had, from early on up to like the middle stages of the war. So that was the plan, and it's still one part of the plan, but there's another part came along by accident with these first to fight KFZ 13s and 14s, because I just like them basically. Because one thing I like about the early war is the Heath Robinson vehicles, where they just bashed together something and called it a tank. Because over the course of the war, that they all, tanks all gradually sort of evolve into the sort of perfect combination of armour and speed and everything. But in the early war, it's all banged together randomly, and these end up with all these funny-looking vehicles, which I like. So yeah, and the thing about that is, in the infantry division, their Recon battalion is a company of dudes on horses, a company on push bikes, and a support company. And the support company, including, one platoon of these armoured cars. This is the pre-1939 org chart. So I'm operating on the basis that the 1939 org chart was like the goal from 1939. So they didn't actually have, they weren't actually like that in 1939. So like for the invasion of Poland and probably part of the invasion of France, a lot of the infantry divisions had a patrol or a bunch of armoured cars of just 3 or 4, which at my scale, at my kind of company battalion scale, would just be one vehicle. It's like 1 in 3. But I just really like these, so I wanted to have more just because I like them. And so the first stage of the World War II Mars is going to be, as I described, company or battalion scale, and it'll either be crossfire or rapid fire or maybe O group. But as well as that, I wanted a second strand, which is going to be recon patrol, which is going to be various scales. It might be individual vehicles, or it might be a company scale or 10 scale even. But I said this first stage, it's got to be 1-to-1 because they only had a few. I think they only had 4 of the vehicles. There's like the KZ-14 was the command vehicle with the radio, and then you had 3 of these KFZ-13s. In my case, I'm going to pretend that this had been partial upgrade, so they got 1 S2 KFZ 221, but they're going to have the same sort of function, org chart. So 1 command vehicle and 3 armoured cars. So I had to decide what sort of, in terms of miles, in terms of rules and supplements, I decided how that was going to play a game with them. So once I decided on, I wanted a 1-to-1 Recce type game, I decided I was going to try and do it like a bit like a Patience, the card game, where there's a lot of randomness. So you have a random table of terrain, and these Recce cards have got to Recce each of the squares in the game, on the table, and get to the end, and have a lot of random placement of terrain, random placement of enemies, etc. So that was the plan. So, assuming starting in 1939, and that makes it Poland with my little 4 KFZ things travelling along. As you can see, there's a very flat trajectory in that central region, and that was basically going to be the plan. That there's going to be some invasion along the rivers, and my little KFZ-13s would be somewhere along the edge. This is my highly skilled artistic version of the kind of general plan, which is that there's along one of those big rivers on the original map. That's saying that the main roads are alongside those rivers, and the main attack is going along down that along that axis, and then way off in the distance, that kind of broad river valley, there's somewhere near the edge, there's an infantry division that's got following the same path but kind of off to the left or to the right or wherever it was. So the actual table was going to be something like that, a few woods, a bit of marsh, a little stream or small river heading off to the main river, a kind of small road along the way, and say marshes, woods, whatever is the as the terrain on it. So that's going to be my sort of 3 foot square table. So the original plan was to take the 3 foot by 3 foot table and divide it into foot squares, and then roll for the terrain. And your Recon platoon had to scout each of the 9 squares within a certain number of turns or whatever, or just in total. And you could score it by maybe how many turns it took them, or you could have objective squares that you had to reach, or whatever it might be. But the original idea was say 9 squares, 3 by 3 foot. Although you could do it 9 inches, so you'd have 4 boxes on each side, giving 16 squares. And you can even do it at 6 inch squares. So you'd have 6 across the bottom, 6 across each side. So you have 36 squares. I don't know what's the best, but I'll leave it at the 9 squares to start off with. Well, I'm missing them out of it, and I may go to 9 inches once I've got everything sorted out. So let's assume it's going to be a 3 by 3, 9 squares, 3 by 3 pattern, and randomly roll a dice for where the river comes on. I have to figure that out, but it might be, it might do that, or it might do that, and the same with the road. Does it come out like this? Or like that? Blah blah blah. So you figure all that out through rolling the dice, and then you have maybe that one's got woods, that one's got a marsh, that's got a field, or whatever it might be. You figure out the dice rolls for that, and then your little guys come on from wherever the road comes on, and the enemies are randomly determined. So you might have an anti-tank gun in there, you might have some infantry there, you might have a truck or whatever there, and it's you do it all randomly, and your little armor cars come on, and they've got to try and beat the map, so to speak. Either go to each of the tiles or have objectives randomly scattered around the tiles. So that's the general plan, and the only problem with that plan is Poland is very flat, or at least those main axes of attack along the river valleys are very flat, and when I say very, I mean very. So a quick run through of some of the pictures I downloaded from the internet, giving it an idea of what things ought to look like if you're doing a kind of Poland through the North European plain. Today there's a road there, there's no hedges or walls is the point I'm trying to make. So you have some little trees along the sides, and what looks like a drainage trench along the side of the road. Another picture of one of the main roads. See, this doesn't affect me necessarily, as I'm assuming there's a main thrust going down the river valley, and so this wouldn't be the bit for my little KFZ13s, but it gives you an indication. There's no roads, there's no walls, there's no hedges. There may be some kind of little fence, kind of like a wire fence, which you can't see here. But again, it just shows you there's not a lot of the usual kind of war games terrain. It's pretty much just a flat table with a few trees dotted around. Another example of the same thing: big road, nothing, no hedges, no walls, no trenches. It's just a big empty road. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just in a standard war game, you tend to want to have lots of cover. Again, small trees along the side of the road. Not a lot else, though. They're not big hedges or anything like that. Fences along the side. Fences along the side of the road. That's just an indication. Wall roads, again, nothing along the edges. Picket fence around the buildings. Some kind of fencing around that woodland. But I say the main point is that it's not following the road like it tends to do in normal war games. Again, another one, a road going through a nice little bit of woodland, but nothing on the side of the road. Wood coming up, woodland coming up right close to the road. This is more about village architecture. But again, no hedges or whatever. You've got these wooden railings around the buildings. Wooden buildings with planks sitting across. Again, another example of another kind of railing that you can get around the edge of the housing. Pretty picture, but again showing the same thing. Road, nothing along the sides really. What we call it along the picket fencing around the outside of the building. Again, these are all basically showing the same thing, that there's nothing along the side of the road. There's something over there, can't really see what it is, and these trees along the sides of the road, along the edges. But they're quite scattered. Another one, side of the road, but wire fencing. Big flat plain. Another one. Again, nothing specifically along the edge of the road. It's sunken over time from people walking along it. But again, no hedges or walls. So just another example where you've got your road going through and nothing on the sides. A bit of woods over in the distance and such. But that seems to be a kind of standard, at least in parts of Poland. So where does that leave me in terms of my recon patrol idea? Because it does seem that a lot of the Polish terrain, at least in those areas where it's very flat, is very flat. And so what do? So I think if I'm going to do actual Poland, I've got a bunch of choices. One is that you do it somewhere else. If I recall rightly, the invasion happened from a lot of different directions, including one coming down into these this region with lots of lakes and woods, or coming up from wherever it was, Czechoslovakia, and into the more hilly regions, or simply say that you're right on the very edge. You've got some units, some invasion coming down the main valley, and up on this slightly higher ground, just a little bit further to the north, is where our little valiant, well, I shouldn't say that actually, given the circumstances, but our recon patrol is like up on the edge. It's following the same pattern, but it's just like on the edge of where the higher ground, so it's more rough and more with more varied terrain. That's one theory, or one option. Another is just to say, this is an example of another place. You got the road with these trees running along it, and just flat fields everywhere. So not really very helpful for a war game. But you can say that's going on, and then your little gang of KFZ-13s have been sent down that little road to investigate this area, which is much more kind of wooded and stuff. And similar, I don't know which part of Poland this is. Judging by all what looks like watery lakes in the distance, it might be that Masurian, I think it's called, region, where there's a lot more woods. Or again, same thing. You just assume that there's a whole road, miles and miles of roads like that. A road with flat fields on either side, but along the way you get other little patches. So say you're going along that bit of road, and then all of a sudden you come across these bits where there's a lot more wooded terrain mixed in. And the third option, the third option is one that you're in. The three options. One is you're in a region along the edge of a river valley, which is a lot rougher terrain. Option two is that you've got these large chunks of flat fields, and occasionally you bump into something that's a lot more busy, and you play the game on the busy part. And the third option is to make it pretend Poland. It's technically Poland, but it doesn't actually look much like Poland. It's just you just have random terrain, and there's a spot where there's just some random terrain, and that's just what it is. So for the time being, I'm going to try and figure this out more about how to make it realistic terrain, but at the same time useful for my recon patrol model. But for the time being, it's going to be pretend Poland. Basically, I'm just going to have a randomly roll for the terrain, and say because there's probably somewhere in Poland which is realistic, and just do it that way. And while I'm here, just a quick thing on the buildings. The picket fence around the edges, which is interesting to me. Wooden buildings, a lot of planking. That was the main thing, really, to show what the buildings looked like. Similar here, wooden planking, and again they're slightly posher versions, shingles, and wooden planking. Wooden planking. So that's just of vague interest. And then the other thing is, the thing that I intend to try and make is this is a 28mm model done by I've forgotten who, but again it's showing you the kind of fencing around the sort of farm buildings, and how it might look. I'm going to try and build that. I don't know how, but I'm going to do something. And so, you know, this tallish barney type thing with a roof, with, say, planking down, going up and down on that one, side to side on that, then up and down on that, you know, blah blah blah, over the top. So, you know, a planked building, farm building. I'm going to try and build that at some point, not straight away. So that's it. This is the grand plan. Looking suitably impressive. 9 squares, a route through, and then your KFZ 13s have got to visit each square, or pick up objective markers from a bunch of them. I don't know how many, and with random enemies in each square. Again, kind of like a game of patience, where you can see how many of these trains you can get through in one go, or whatever, just for fun. So yes, that's basically the plan for Mars World War II Recon Patrol, and it will start on this KFZ 13's Poland thing, maybe stretch into France as well, but then do another one for as the as the technology improves and they upgrade the stuff, you know, maybe go as far as the STKFZ 250 version of Recon, and starts off with the KFZ 13s, and maybe include the it may end up being like a whole, not an actual whole battalion, but the components of a Recon battalion. So cavalry and push bikes, and just do that really in different parts of the theatres, different theatres of the war, and just random terrain, and just a silly thing where you just try and pick up all the objective markers before you get blown up, and a lot of randomness, randomness in terrain, randomness in the defenders, and random events for things like aircraft and stuff like that. So just make it a kind of a very random sort of messing about thing. But anyway, that's the plan for Mars World War II Recon Patrol. So just to give an idea of what I'm aiming for, so you get your 3 foot by 3 foot table, and put a couple of put some markers out at the foot square points to get you nine divisions. Say in the road you can come on 1 or 2, 3 or 4, 5 or 6 for the where it comes on. 1, 2. So it comes on the left, and roll 4 it goes off on the right. So it's don't have any actual roads, so we'll use these to determine where the roads come on. Right, so that's the road going across, and then the river, stream, whatever you want to call it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the left side. So it starts at the top and leaves in the middle. So the road's going down there, and right. So the other sort of guess for the terrain is that say you've got 9 squares, and roll for each one. Say, for example, it's 8 plus for some kind of something, and below 8 is fields. So that one, 6, that's a field. 9, that's something, and 9. So these 2 squares have got something on. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, it's just going to be woodland. Just a kind of and for now, because there aren't any trees yet, these little pieces represent woods. And the second row, field, something, and field. Woody patch, which means this is a kind of L-shaped wood in all this bit here. And then the last three, left hand one, nothing, field, something in the middle, and field on the right. And just for the sake of doing it, I'll put a load of marshy ones on that final square. Quick fly through. So that's just an example of the end result, assuming you've got trees in. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that you have objective markers. Get a 10-sided dice and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9, and then we'll take these corner markers off and use those for the objectives. So that's 9, that's 1, 7 over there, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's the bridge. So for the sake of argument, let's say there's 3, and that's where your vehicles have to go. Turn 1, vehicle comes on in the wherever the road comes on. So the first turn comes on, and you can have a roll to see if there's any enemy or opponents in the adjacent tiles that you can see. So to the right, yes. Above right, no. On the road straight ahead, no. So there's an enemy there. So then you roll for that, whatever it might be. So you can say you've got a half section. So it's in theory it's Polish, but I mean they're French, and it could be France. So whatever. So your first unit comes on there. They try and shoot at them. I'm not worrying about the rules yet. I'm just getting it set up for the how to lay things out. But let's say it's 1 square away. They've got 10 plus. They can, I don't know, rifle grenades or something. Say it's 10 plus. Say 8 plus is going to be the general attack, and plus or minus. Next turn moves up to the second square. Another lot moves up to the first square. They're going to shoot at the infantry. So 8 plus. No, miss. So anyway, that goes up in the square 4. So this adjacent to no, marsh, no, bridge, no. Polish again, firing again at the KFZ. 7, miss. German turn again. That moves onto the bridge. That's 1 victory point. Other one moves to there. Third one comes on, shoots at those infantry. Miss. So the HQ tries to do the mortars. Yes. So no, they've been hit once. So there's one on the right. No. One in the middle right. No. And one on the far right. Yes. Just for the hell of it, I just put a machine gun down. German turn again. This one goes over there. So that one moves to there. So that moves to there. And that one, turn one over there, shoots. 4, no, miss. Did he shoot? No, 10. So they both hit. The 2 Polish units are both hit. 1 each. Polish turn. Machine gun hit hits again. Did that? I can't remember. Whatever. It's probably all wrong. Blah blah blah. That moves across as well. Mortars, no. Second KF7, no. So they're all shooting at them, but not getting anywhere. They shoot at this lot. 9, that's their second hit. Polish turn, machine guns. Hit again, I'm going to say that's got, so they've got some kind of damage or knocked out. Miss. So anyway, blah blah blah. You go for it like that. I don't know if that is. I do. You keep track of the turns. Maybe give it 6 turns or something like that. See how far they, how well they do. Oh, should have moved the camera. But yeah, so anyway, you get the idea. So you just roll up some random terrain and then move these armour cars through. Either using proper rules like with a certain move distance, or just a square at a time. Then have your sort of rules for shooting and stuff. Because the thing is, these armour cars only have machine guns, so there's a limit to what they can fight. But also I want to have some kind of random event card that plays in the middle, so you can like get aircrafts and stuff can pop in, doing odds and ends like that. But that's the basic idea. I say it's not 100% realistic, obviously, because a lot of these roads in Poland didn't have hedges and walls. But you could just pretend they got wooden railings instead, and have some trees in the wooded areas. But that's I don't know. That was quite fun, despite being completely silly and not really got proper rules or anything. But I don't know. I just like those KSZs, so it's okay. If when you roll for the opponents, if they've got an anti-tank gun, then it's going to become a bit of a massacre. Well, maybe not. If you've got a Stuka overhead. But that's the basic idea anyway. For my recon patrol, it's going to be like that. It's going to be random terrain, random enemies, and a turn limit of trying to get these. Either to get, well, I think the objective markers is better actually than going to each square. So there you go. Recon patrol. So that's the basis for what I'm going to call Mars Combat Patrol. Recon Patrol. You have a randomly created base on your 3 foot by 3 foot table. Like here, like I had on the previous thing, a road starting on the left and exiting on the top right. River coming in on the top left and exiting on the middle right. 3 lots of wooded tiles, a marshy tile, and the rest all fields, with 3 objectives, 1 on the bridge in orange, 1 in the top left and 1 on the top right, and your little KFZs coming in through the bottom left. So I'm going to make that a thing. Maybe some with the KFZ 13s, and again it's pretend Poland really, it's not really Poland, or pretend France, whichever way you want to look at it, and then go on through that, and then at that KFZ 13 scale be 1-to-1, just because I like them, and at higher scales, later on it'll be more higher scales. So you can get all the various support units, all the recon support units together. So anyway, that's what is that? That's a lot of rambling. I connect Mars Recon Patrol. I connect to a bit.